officer, who has to arrest you once it is reported to him you have committed a crime. That is why death has the right to snatch any person at any time. Look at the courts everywhere, and all policemen and other law enforcement officers. If you do not commit any crime, the police will never take you to the court, they will not arrest you. You will move about, without fearing anything, but when you commit any crime, you will even fear making appearance outside, because, if they arrest you, they will never let you go. All your activities of singing, dancing, going on ministry work, and building Bethels are very good by themselves. But if you do not refrain from sin, these activities will not save you. All your efforts in furnishing and equipping this assembly hall are appreciated by many. But if you do not refrain from sin, and turn away from evil, you have no gain whatsoever. John chapter 8 verses 34 and 35. Jesus answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. John chapter 8 verses 34 and 35. Brethren, have you heard that? Why should death be so audacious as to kill you? Are you its slave or servant? Upon your high position and standing in the society, it takes you in a matter of seconds, and you follow it, without any argument. You may be a judge, a king, or a professor. It beckons you, and you follow it, without questions. You may be a lawyer pleading your case in the court, and suddenly it comes and snatches you away, and you follow it, without any resistance. You may be a millionaire, just coming out of your luxurious car, and it calls you. In spite of your wealth, your position in the society, your influence, you have to follow it. Why? Your children are shouting on you not to follow it. Your friends tried to rescue you, yet you will not listen to them. You will follow on like a sheep, without any resistance. Consider how numerous we are here, but cannot resist it at all. It is able to do this, because of your sinful ways. All those who commit sins are worthy of death. No charm can protect you from death. All your efforts to adorn yourselves with protective charms, talisman, and magical signs capable of warding off evil and death, or surrounding yourself or your house with fetishes, concoctions, and juju are useless, because none of these can prevent you from death. Can these things withstand death? It is absolute foolishness on your part to get yourself involved in these ways, because, when your record is checked, and it is discovered, you have stolen or fornicated, or done any other thing worthy of death, you are therefore snatched away by death. Is it not the reason why some juju doctors complain, upon the charms and concoctions they have in the house, their children are still dying? Are they not foolish to think a piece of dead wood can't save them, whereas they claim their charms and concoctions can't slap you, or push you forward and backward? This explains why I focus my attention on reminding you to flee from sin, so you may be able to run away from death. Read Revelation chapter 6 verse 8. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Read Revelation chapter 6 verse 8. Notice, death and heads have been empowered and authorized to use sword, and hunger, and the beasts of the earth to destroy the world. There is nothing that happens which is not known to God, and there is nothing He is not aware of. When you sin, you allege, you are reported, no person reports you, God knows everything. You have been advised to forsake sin, but you still continue to sin. Do you not hear? Death is empowered and heads is authorized to kill evil ones with the sword, famine, hunger, and with wild beasts. Brethren, why should beasts kill man? Why should man be killed by thunder, tree, storm, or sword? I always advise you, beg and plead with you, to forsake sin, not to steal, or fornicate, tell lies, or indulge in charms and concoctions. It is your person that I want. If you indulge in sin, you become susceptible to sickness, poverty, death, or persecution. When you sin, you are under the bondage of death, and it can take you away. Even now, you are standing with me. I will not be able to rescue you, because the wages of sin is death. If you are snatched away by death, who is to blame? What can I do to you, in such a situation? I have been pleading with you, to forsake all manners of sin, but you refuse to abide by my instruction. Afterwards you allege, you are being reported. No person reports you. When you steal, death, which is an agent of God, has seen you, and so, as you steal before me, it will arrest you and impose the final penalty on you, without having anybody to plead for your release. Whatever sin you commit is not hidden in the sight of God, and so, death, sickness or poverty will surely exact its penalty from you. At such a confrontation, what do you think I can say or do, when these agents come here to report you, for committing these vices? It is always good to obey instructions and put them into practice, than to believe inadvertently. Since the Holy Father is with you, you can commit all types of sins, and go scot-free, because he will even be there to rescue you. When you steal and fornicate, people see what you do, and readily report or confront you, when they ask you, if that is what you are taught in brotherhood. Sometimes you fornicate with somebody's wife. Will the husband or his relation not take an action against you, or at least, form an opinion about you? When you sin, you condemn yourself before people, and before God himself. That is why, I always caution you to refrain from all manners of sin. Anytime you commit sin, the worldly people will testify you are not so taught by the leader, because they know the leader does not sin, and does not like anyone that sins. This is the reason, when you commit an offense against the law, the owner and you are arraigned before a magistrate, you will not have leniency, but maximum judgment against you, because he knows, as a brotherhood you should not have committed that offense. Now, if a brotherhood member is taken to court for theft, the magistrate will discharge and acquit him on the grounds of fear. If the offender is jailed, the magistrate, will also be jailed spiritually. But now the Father has given them the authority to jail all offenders. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 51 to 56. Behold, I show you a mystery, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So, when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 51 to 56. Have you heard what is read to you? What is the sting of death? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. Is any other thing mentioned there? Is witchcraft, mermaid or concoction mentioned? You have heard what Moses did, and also what Peter did. Our Lord Jesus Christ told Peter to put back his sword into its sheath, for any person who takes the sword dies by it. John chapter 18 verse 10 and 11, Matthew chapter 26 verse 52. What about Moses? Did he not commit murder? Exodus chapter 2 verse 12, before he died. He was a soldier, and so was involved in killing a lot of people. Whatever you are, if you kill, you will surely be killed. Do what you may, but if you cause the death of a human being, you will also die, because he who takes the sword must die by the sword, whoever takes the gun, must die by the gun, and so with the bow, club or stave, whatever judgment you give to somebody, the same will be measured unto you. Why are you afraid of death? Why do you not refrain completely from sin? No matter its gravity, run away from sin, because, if you commit it, you must surely be penalized. If you say you are the disciple of David, did David not suffer untold punishment? If you know the suffering of David, because of his sins would you bear it? At one time he was so notorious and infamous, he was declared a wanted person, and was dethroned as a result of his criminality. Remember, before the marriage contracted between David and the daughter of Saul was consummated, David had to give Saul 300 human heads. David went to war, and brought 300 human heads. What was this for? Remember also, when David caused Uriah the Hittite to die at war, and he took Uriah's wife unto himself as his wife, Prophet Nathan, 2 Samuel chapter 12 verses 1 to 15, was sent by God to tell him what he had done, and the punishment that awaited him. Have you not read about these stories of David? Why was David's son, Amnon, intimate with his sister, Tamar? Why did his son, Absalom, invite his brother, Amnon, to accompany him to a party and at the party caused his brother to be killed? 2 Samuel chapter 13 verses 1 to 39. Observe, David was the cause of what happened in his house. When you find yourself in such a situation, you complain the situation is caused by witchcraft, mermaid, or any other thing. The two stories are clear enough